Park Joon-ho had a secret. It wasn't the kind of secret that would destroy his reputation or undermine his empire. It wasn't the kind that his enemies could use against him. It was a small thing, really, a habit he had developed over the years, known only to Danny and a handful of trusted associates. Once a month, he disappeared. Not literally, of course, but the Park Joon-ho that Koreatown knew, the man in expensive suits, the black silk band over his eyes, the sleek carbon fiber cane, the entourage of guards and assistants, that man vanished. In his place appeared someone else entirely. A nobody. Tonight, Joon-ho wore clothes he had bought at a thrift store 5 years ago. Faded jeans with a hole in one knee, a jacket that had seen better decades, a baseball cap pulled low. The silk band was gone, replaced by cheap, dark sunglasses from a dollar store. His cane was wooden, scratched, the kind you could buy at any pharmacy for $20. He looked like what most people expected a blind man to look like. Poor, invisible, easy to ignore. That was the point. "You sure about this, boss?" Danny had asked earlier, as he always did. "That neighborhood's been rough lately." "I'm sure. At least let me follow at a distance." "No. The whole point is to see how things really are. If anyone knows I'm there, they behave differently." Danny had sighed but hadn't argued. He knew better than to try to change Joon-ho's mind once it was made up. So now Joon-ho walked alone through the dark streets, his wooden cane tapping against the cracked sidewalk. The night was cold, not freezing, but enough to make him grateful for the worn jacket. The sounds of the city surrounded him. Distant traffic, a dog barking somewhere, the bass thump of music from an apartment above. He was heading for one of his convenience stores, a 24-hour place on the corner of Vermont and 5th, in a neighborhood that had seen better days. It wasn't one of his flagship locations, just a small store that served the working-class families nearby, selling snacks and cigarettes and lottery tickets and the small necessities of daily life. According to the quarterly reports, it was performing adequately. Not spectacularly, but adequately. The manager had assured him that everything was running smoothly. Joon-ho wanted to see for himself. He reached the store at 11:17 p.m. The fluorescent lights spilled out onto the sidewalk, cutting through the darkness. A faded sign above the door read, "Kmart Convenience," a name he had inherited from the previous owner and never bothered to change. He pushed through the door. A little bell chimed overhead. The store smelled like coffee. Burnt coffee, the kind that had been sitting on the warmer for hours, and cleaning supplies and the faint staleness of packaged snacks. The floor was linoleum, slightly sticky under his shoes. The shelves were tall enough that he could feel them looming on either side as he walked. And then he heard it, crying, soft, muffled, coming from behind the counter at the back of the store. Joon-ho stopped, listening. It was a woman's voice, broken and exhausted, trying to stay quiet, trying to swallow the sobs before they could escape. But she wasn't alone. She was on the phone, speaking to someone, her voice thick with tears. "I'm sorry," she said. I know it's due tomorrow, but I don't have it. I've been working double shifts for 3 weeks and I still don't—" Her voice cracked. "I can't. I just can't." A pause. She was listening to whoever was on the other end. Joon-ho couldn't hear the other voice, but he could imagine it. Impatient. Unsympathetic. The voice of someone who had heard every excuse and didn't care anymore. "Please." The woman's voice dropped to a whisper, raw and desperate. "Please, just give me 1 more week. My daughter, she's only 5. If we get evicted, I don't know where we'll go. I don't have anyone. My mom passed last year. My ex disappeared before Lily was born. I don't have anywhere to go. Please." Another pause. Longer this time. Then a sound that Joon-ho recognized too well. The sound of hope, dying. "I understand," the woman said. Her voice was flat now. Empty. "Yes, I understand." The phone clicked off. For a moment, there was silence. Then the crying started again. Quieter now. The kind of crying that came when you were alone, or thought you were, and didn't have to hold anything back anymore. The kind of crying that had been building for days, weeks, months, and finally found its release. Junho stood in the doorway of his own store, listening to one of his own employees fall apart, and he felt something he hadn't felt in a very long time. Shame. He walked slowly toward the counter, his wooden cane tapping against the linoleum. He made enough noise that she would hear him coming. He didn't want to startle her. The crying stopped abruptly. He heard scrambling sounds, tissues being grabbed, face being wiped, composure being desperately reassembled. I'm sorry, sir." Her voice was shaky but professional, the mask of customer service sliding into place with practiced ease. "I didn't hear you come in. How can I help you?" Junho stopped at the counter. Up close, he could hear more, the slight congestion in her voice from crying, the exhaustion underneath the professional tone, the way her breathing was still uneven, still trying to steady itself. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. "I'm fine. Just allergies." A pause. A small, forced laugh. "The cleaning supplies, you know. They get to me sometimes." It was a terrible lie. They both knew it, but she was clinging to it like a lifeline, because admitting the truth to a stranger was more than she could bear right now. "Can I get you something?" she continued, her voice a little stronger now. "Coffee's fresh. Well, sort of fresh. Made it a couple hours ago. We've got hot dogs, too, but I wouldn't really recommend them at this hour." "Coffee sounds fine." "Coming right up." He heard her move away from the counter, heard the sound of a styrofoam cup being grabbed, liquid being poured. Her movements were mechanical, automatic, the movements of someone who had done this 1,000 times and could do it in her sleep. "That'll be $1.50. Junho pulled out his wallet and handed her a 5. "Keep the change." "Oh, you don't have to." "Please." A pause. Then, "Thank you. That's very kind." He didn't leave. Instead, he stood at the counter, his hands wrapped around the warm cup, listening. "Is there something else I can help you with, sir?" "I couldn't help but overhear," he said carefully. "When I came in, it sounded like you were having a difficult conversation." Silence. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "That was unprofessional. I shouldn't have been on a personal call during my shift. It won't happen again." "That's not what I meant." Junho kept his voice gentle. "I meant, are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help?" Another silence. Longer this time. "Why would you want to help me?" Her voice was wary now, suspicious. "You don't even know me." "No, but I know what it sounds like when someone is at the end of their rope, and I know what it feels like to have no one to turn to." She didn't respond. He could hear her breathing, unsteady, caught between the instinct to push him away and the desperate need to tell someone, anyone, what was happening. "My name is—" he almost said Junho, caught himself. "James. What's yours?" "Rachel. Rachel Mitchell." "It's nice to meet you, Rachel. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances." "Yeah, me too." Another pause. Then, as if a dam had broken, the words started pouring out. "I'm about to be evicted. Tomorrow. The landlord's been threatening for 2 months, but I kept thinking I could catch up, you know? I've been working doubles here, picking up every shift I can, and it's still not enough. The rent went up last year, and then my car broke down, and I had to fix it because I needed to get to work. And then Lily got sick, and the doctor bills—" She stopped, drew a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. You don't want to hear all this. You came in for coffee, not a therapy session." "I asked," Junho said quietly. "I want to hear. Why?" "Because you work for me," he thought. "Because I sign the checks that aren't enough to keep a roof over your head. Because the reports on my desk say everything is running smoothly while you're crying behind my counter at 11 o'clock at night. Because sometimes it helps to talk," he said instead. "And because you look like you could use someone to listen." Rachel was quiet for a long moment. "My daughter," she said finally. "Lily. She's 5. She doesn't know what's happening. I've been trying to protect her from it, trying to keep things normal. But tomorrow," her voice cracked, "tomorrow I have to tell her that we don't have a home anymore." that Mommy couldn't fix it, that we have to go somewhere. I don't even know where. What about shelters? The family shelters are full. I've called everyone in the city. There's a wait list, but that doesn't help me tomorrow. She laughed, a broken, hollow sound. You know what the worst part is? I thought I was doing everything right. Working hard, showing up every day, never calling in sick, even when Lily was sick, and I had to leave her with a neighbor I barely know. I thought if I just kept going, kept pushing, it would work out. That's what they tell you, right? Work hard and everything will be okay? That's what they tell you. It's a lie. Before we continue, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Because what Junho discovers next will change everything. Junho stood at the counter, his coffee growing cold in his hands, listening to Rachel Mitchell describe her life. She had grown up in this neighborhood. Her mother had worked at a laundromat 2 blocks away for 30 years. Her father had left when she was 7, just didn't come home one day, and they never heard from him again. My mom raised me alone, worked herself to death, practically. She always said, "Rachel, get an education. Don't end up like me." So I did. I went to community college, got a degree in business administration. I was going to be somebody, you know? I was going to break the cycle. What happened? I got pregnant. Senior year. The father. She made a dismissive sound. He stuck around for about 5 minutes after I told him. Then he was gone. Just like my dad. Guess I know how to pick them. So you dropped out? No. I finished. Walked across that stage with a belly out to here and my mom crying in the audience. She was so proud. A pause. She died 6 months after Lily was born. Heart attack. She never even got to see Lily's first steps. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. Rachel's voice hardened slightly. After that, things got hard. I couldn't find a job that paid enough to cover daycare, so I took what I could get. Retail. Fast food. This place. She gestured vaguely at the store. It's not what I planned, but it's honest work. At least, that's what I keep telling myself. How long have you worked here? 3 years. I started part-time, worked my way up to full-time. I'm the night shift manager now. A bitter laugh. Manager? Sounds fancy, right? It's just me. There's supposed to be 2 people on the night shift, but the other guy quit last month and they haven't replaced him. So I do everything. Stock the shelves, clean the floors, run the register, all for $12 an hour. Junho's hands tightened around his coffee cup. $12 an hour. He paid his night shift managers $12 an hour. The minimum wage in California was $15. His managers were supposed to be paid above minimum wage. $12? He asked, keeping his voice neutral. Isn't minimum wage $15? They classify me as a shift lead, not a manager. Some kind of loophole. The actual manager, guy named Steve, he comes in during the day, does paperwork for a couple hours, then leaves. But he's the one who gets the manager's salary. I do all the actual work. Junho said nothing. His mind was racing. Steve, the manager who sent him quarterly reports assuring him everything was running smoothly. The manager who had convinced him that this store didn't need additional staff. The manager who was apparently exploiting a classification loophole to underpay his employees. The worst part, Rachel continued, is I can't even complain. If I make trouble, they'll fire me. And then where will I be? At least here I get a steady paycheck, even if it's not enough. At least I can feed Lily. At least... She stopped. I'm sorry. I keep saying that. I'm dumping all of this on a stranger who just wanted coffee. You're not dumping anything, I asked. Yeah, but why? Why do you care? It was a fair question. A question he couldn't answer honestly. Not yet. Because I know what it's like to be alone, Junho said slowly. To feel like the world is designed to crush you, and no one cares. My mother raised me alone too. She worked 3 jobs to keep a roof over our heads. She died when I was 12. I'm sorry. After she died, I had no one. I ended up in a group home where bigger kids beat me because I was blind and couldn't fight back. I spent years convinced that my life was over, that no matter how hard I worked, the system was rigged against people like me. Rachel was quiet, listening. But then, someone helped me. A stranger. Someone who had no reason to care about a blind orphan with nothing to offer. He gave me a chance. He changed my life. Junho paused. I'm not that person yet. I'm not in a position to change your life tonight. But I want you to know that your story matters, that you matter, and that sometimes things do get better. Not because the system is fair, it's not, but because sometimes good people cross your path when you need them most. You think I'm going to run into some miracle stranger who's going to solve all my problems? I think miracles are rare, but I also think that giving up guarantees they never happen. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. You're different, she said finally. From what I expected, I mean. Most people who come in here at this hour, drunks, addicts, people looking for trouble, you seem what? I don't know. Kind. She laughed softly. It's been a while since anyone was just kind, without wanting anything. I don't want anything from you, Rachel. I just wanted you to know that someone heard you, that someone sees how hard you're trying. Thank you. Her voice was thick again, tears threatening. That means more than you know. Seat. Junho finished his coffee and set the cup on the counter. I should go. Let you finish your shift. Yeah, I should probably get back to work anyway. The boss gets reports on the security cameras. If he sees me standing around talking instead of stocking shelves, he'll dock my pay. Junho went very still. He docks your pay? If we're not productive enough. That's what he calls it. Productivity adjustments. She said it with air quotes, probably. It's probably not legal, but what am I going to do? Sue him? With what money? Another thing Steve hadn't mentioned in his reports. Rachel, Junho said carefully. What's your manager's full name? Steve. Steve Thornton. Why? Just curious. He pulled out his wallet again. I want to give you something. You already tipped me. This is different. He pulled out a business card. Not his own, but one he carried for situations like this. A generic card with just a phone number. If things get really bad, if you're on the street with nowhere to go, call this number. It's a resource line. They can help with emergency housing, food, that kind of thing. It wasn't a resource line. It was Danny's number, but she didn't need to know that. I can't take... Please, just in case. She hesitated. Then he heard her take the card. Thank you, James. Thank you. Take care of yourself, Rachel. And take care of Lily. I'll try. He walked toward the door, his cane tapping against the linoleum. He was almost there when her voice stopped him. James? Yes? I hope you're right. About things getting better. About miracles. So do I. He pushed through the door and stepped into the cold night air, the little bell chiming behind him. Danny was waiting in a car around the corner, as he always was despite Junho's instructions. Boss? You were in there a long time. Everything okay? Junho climbed into the passenger seat and closed the door. No, everything is not okay. What happened? I found one of my employees crying behind the counter. She's being evicted tomorrow. She has a 5-year-old daughter. She's working double shifts at $12 an hour, below minimum wage, because our manager is using some kind of classification loophole. He's also docking her pay for productivity adjustments. And apparently, she's the only one working the night shift because he hasn't replaced the employee who quit last month. Danny was quiet for a moment. That's not in any of the reports. No, it's not. Junho's voice was cold. Because Steve Thornton has been sending me fiction, telling me everything is running smoothly while he exploits his workers and pockets the difference. What do you want to do? I want to know everything, every store, every manager, every employee. I want to know if this is an isolated incident or a pattern, and I want it by tomorrow morning. Boss, that's a lot of... I don't care. Make it happen. Danny nodded slowly. And Rachel, the cashier? I gave her your number, told her it was a resource line. If she calls, you answer. You help her. Whatever she needs. Got it. Junho leaned back in his seat, exhaustion washing over him. But underneath the exhaustion was something else, something hotter, anger. He had built his empire on principles, fair wages, honest work, taking care of the people who took care of his businesses. That was what his mentor had taught him. That was what his mother had believed in. And somewhere along the way, while he was busy being important, while he was reviewing quarterly reports and attending high-level meetings, the principles had been eroded by men like Steve Thornton, men who saw employees as numbers, not people, men who would watch a woman cry behind a counter and dock her pay for not being productive enough. "There's something else," Junho said. "What?" "Tomorrow, I want you to take care of Rachel's eviction. Pay off whatever she owes. Give her enough cushion for 6 months. Boss, if she finds out it's from you, she won't. Make it look like a charity, an anonymous donor, a clerical error in her favor. I don't care. Just make sure she doesn't lose her home." Danny was quiet for a moment. Then, "You really care about this woman. You just met her. I care about what she represents. A single mother, working herself to death in one of my stores. And it's still not enough. That's not her failure. That's mine. You can't save everyone, boss." "No, but I can save her. And I can make sure no one else in my businesses ends up in the same situation." He turned toward Danny. "Starting tomorrow, I want a full audit. Every store, every restaurant, every property I own. Wages, conditions, management practices, everything. That's going to take weeks. Then we'd better get started." Danny sighed but didn't argue. He started the car and pulled away from the curb. "You know," he said after a few minutes, "most people in your position wouldn't care. They'd see the profits, see the reports, and never think about the people making it all work. Most people in my position never had to work a night shift, never had to worry about rent, never had a mother who came home at midnight smelling like grease and cleaning supplies because she worked 3 jobs to keep them fed." Junho's voice was quiet. "I know what it's like to be invisible, to be the person everyone looks through. I can't forget that. I won't." Danny nodded. "Okay, boss. We'll fix it." "We will." The audit took 3 weeks. What it revealed was worse than Junho had imagined. Steve Thornton wasn't an anomaly. He was a symptom. Across Junho's businesses, managers had been cutting corners, underpaying employees, creating hostile work environments, all while sending him glowing reports about performance and productivity. 37 employees were being paid below minimum wage through various classification tricks. 12 were having their pay illegally docked. 23 stores were chronically understaffed, with existing employees forced to cover the gaps without additional compensation. It was systematic. It was pervasive. And it had been happening for years, right under his nose. "How did this happen?" Junho asked, standing in his office, the reports spread across his desk in Braille transcriptions. "How did I not see this?" "You trusted the wrong people," Danny said quietly. "You trusted the reports. I trusted the system." Junho's hands clenched at his sides. "I built a system that I thought would take care of itself. And instead, it was used to exploit the very people it was supposed to protect. What do you want to do?" "Everything changes. Starting now." The restructuring was swift and merciless. Steve Thornton was fired. So were 11 other managers found to have engaged in similar practices. Criminal referrals were made for the worst offenders: wage theft, illegal deductions, falsified records. New policies were implemented. Minimum wage plus 20% for all employees. Strict staffing requirements, anonymous reporting hotlines, quarterly surprise audits conducted by independent firms, not internal managers. And something else, something personal, a fund, established in his mother's name, for employees facing hardship, medical bills, housing emergencies, unexpected disasters. Available to anyone in his organization, no questions asked, no repayment required. "You're going to lose money on this," his accountant warned him. "The wage increases alone will cost you—" "I don't care. Your profit margins. will still be substantial, just less obscene. Junho's voice was firm. I didn't build this empire to squeeze every penny out of people who work 60 hours a week and still can't make rent. I built it to be better than that, to prove that you could succeed without exploiting the people who make your success possible. With respect, sir, that's not how business. Then I'll change how business works. At least in my businesses. The accountant fell silent. 4 months later, Rachel Mitchell stood in front of a small house in a quiet neighborhood. A rental, nothing fancy, but it had a yard and 2 bedrooms and a good school district nearby. She still didn't understand how it had happened. One day, she was facing eviction. The next, she received a letter saying that an anonymous charitable organization had paid off her back rent and provided a housing grant that covered 6 months of expenses. She had cried. Then she had called the number on the letter to confirm it was real, convinced it was some kind of scam. The woman on the phone had assured her it wasn't, had told her that she had been identified as someone who was working hard and deserving of support, had told her that all she had to do was accept. She had accepted. And then, a week later, her job had changed too. New management at the store. New policies. Suddenly, she was making $18 an hour instead of $12. Suddenly, there were 2 people on the night shift instead of 1. Suddenly, there was a hotline she could call if she was facing hardship, and a fund that would help with emergencies. It felt like a dream, like she would wake up any moment and find herself back in that cramped apartment, counting pennies, crying behind the counter at midnight. "Mommy! Mommy! Look at the yard!" Lily came running around the corner of the house, her face alight with joy. She was holding a dandelion, already making wishes, probably. "I see it, baby. Can we get a dog? Please? There's so much room for a dog." "We'll see." "That means maybe." "It means we'll see." Lily ran off again, chasing something only she could see. Rachel watched her go, something loosening in her chest that had been tight for years. She didn't know who had helped her, didn't know why, but whoever they were, wherever they were, she would spend the rest of her life being grateful, and she would pay it forward. Somehow, some way. That was a promise. 6 months later, Junho walked into the convenience store on the corner of Vermont and 5th, not in disguise this time. His real clothes, his silk band, his sleek cane. The store looked different, cleaner, brighter. The coffee actually smelled fresh. There were 2 people behind the counter, a young man restocking shelves and a woman at the register. Rachel. She looked different too, healthier, less exhausted. There was color in her cheeks and a lightness to her movements that hadn't been there before. "Good evening," she said as he approached. "Can I help you with—" She stopped, stared. "You." Junho smiled slightly. "Hello, Rachel. It's you. You're the guy from that night. James." Her eyes went to his clothes, to the silk band, to everything that was different. "Except, you're not James, are you?" "No, I'm not." "Oh my God." Her hand flew to her mouth. "You're him. You're Park Junho. You're the one who owns—" She gestured wildly at the store, at everything around them. "You're my boss. Technically, yes. You were here, that night, in disguise. You heard everything I—" Her face went red. "Oh, God. I complained about the company to the owner of the company. I'm so fired." "You're not fired. I said Steve was exploiting us. I said the wages were unfair. I said—" "You told me the truth. And the truth was that my business was failing the people who made it run. I needed to hear that. I'm grateful that you trusted me enough to tell me." Rachel stared at him, speechless. "The anonymous donation," she said slowly. "The housing grant. That was you." "Technically, it was a charitable fund. But yes, I asked them to help you." "Why?" "Because you were working double shifts in my store and still couldn't make rent. Because you had a 5-year-old daughter who was about to end up on the street. Because the system, my system, had failed you." He paused. And because you reminded me of my mother, working herself to death to take care of her child, never complaining, never giving up, even when the world gave her every reason to. Rachel's eyes were filling with tears. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Thank you. The words came out choked, barely audible. Thank you. I can never repay. I don't want repayment. I just wanted to see you, to make sure you were okay. He paused. How is Lily? Rachel laughed through her tears. She's amazing. She's in kindergarten now. She made the honor roll. She's already reading at a first-grade level. That's wonderful. She wants a dog. I keep telling her we'll see, but I think she knows. That means yes, eventually. Smart girl. She is. Rachel wiped her eyes. Do you want to meet her? She's at home with a babysitter. A real babysitter now, not just a neighbor I barely know. But I could bring her by the store sometime. She would love to meet the man who... She trailed off, not quite knowing how to finish the sentence. I would like that very much, Junho said. But don't tell her who I am. Don't tell her I helped you. Just introduce me as a friend. Why? Because I don't want her to feel indebted. I don't want her to grow up thinking she owes anything to anyone. I want her to grow up believing that good things happen because the world has good people in it, not because one man with money decided to play hero. Rachel stared at him for a long moment. You really are different, aren't you? I try to be. Most rich people I've met, not that I've met many, they want credit. They want their names on buildings and their faces in the paper. They want everyone to know how generous they are. I've never cared much for credit. I care about results. He paused. Is everything better now? At the store, I mean. Are the new policies working? They're incredible, honestly. It's like a different company. The new manager actually treats us like human beings. The wages are fair. There's a fund for emergencies. Did you know there's a fund? I've heard something about it. Sarah, she works mornings. Her husband got cancer last month. The fund paid for 3 months of his treatment while they sorted out the insurance. 3 months. Without that, they would have lost everything. I'm glad it's helping. It's not just helping. It's changing lives. Rachel's voice was fierce now, passionate. I've worked jobs where they didn't care if you lived or died, where you were just a number, a cog in a machine. This is different. This is how it should be. That's what I wanted. What I've always wanted. Junho smiled slightly. I just lost sight of it for a while. It took someone crying behind my counter at midnight to remind me. Rachel shook her head, still processing. I can't believe you were here. In disguise. I thought you were just some random guy. That was the idea. People behave differently when they know the boss is watching. I wanted to see the truth. And you got more than you bargained for. I got exactly what I needed. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card, his real one this time. If you ever need anything at all, call this number. It's my direct line. I can't just call the owner of the company whenever. You can, and you should. You're not just an employee, Rachel. You're the person who showed me what was broken so I could fix it. That makes you important. That makes you someone I want to hear from. Rachel took the card, handling it like it was made of gold. Thank you. Again. For everything. Thank you for being brave enough to tell a stranger your story. He turned toward the door. I should go. Danny's waiting. The guy who answered when I called that number. The one who helped me with everything. That's Danny. Tell him thank you too. I will. Junho walked toward the door. He was almost there when Rachel's voice stopped him. Mr. Park? He turned. I'm going to pay it forward. What you did for me. I'm going to find a way to help someone else. The way you helped me. I know you will. How do you know? Because that's who you are. You're the kind of person who sees someone struggling and wants to help. You're the kind of person who works double shifts to take care of her daughter. You're the kind of person who gives everything she has, even when there's nothing left to give. He smiled. The world needs more people like you, Rachel Mitchell. I'm just glad I got to meet one. He pushed through the door and stepped into the night. Danny was waiting by the car, as always. How did it go? Better than I hoped. Junho climbed into the passenger seat. She's doing well. The new policies are working. The fund has already helped several employees. Good. But it's not enough. It never is it? No. Junho leaned back in the seat. There are always more people who need help. Always more systems that are broken. Always more work to be done. So what now? Junho was quiet for a moment, thinking about Rachel, about Lily, about his mother, working 3 jobs to keep him fed, about the boy he had been, alone and blind and convinced that no one cared. Now, he said, we keep going. We find more stores, we find more problems, we find more people who are crying behind counters at midnight and wondering if anyone will ever hear them. That could take a lifetime. Then it takes a lifetime. He turned toward Danny. But at least it's a lifetime spent doing something that matters. Danny nodded slowly. Okay, boss. Where do we start? Junho smiled. Everywhere.